Hello, everybody. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci, and that's Gary Groob, and you're watching NLL Talk, and we're with Mike Accursi. Mike, thank you for joining us on the program. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, we're always grateful to have people who love the game of lacrosse on here to talk us about it. We always like to know how the individual we're interviewing got involved in lacrosse. How did you?
I think it was, well, when I was a kid, I was playing t-ball actually, and my older brother decided that he wanted to no longer play baseball and wanted to play lacrosse. So my dad signed him up for lacrosse, and me being the younger brother, always wanted to do what my older brother did. I joined the Pelham Raiders and played lacrosse for them.
What kept you in?
I love the sport. I love the competitive nature of the sport. I played, high level hockey, so I liked the body contact. I liked all the scoring, and I just found it was my true passion. And it was a game that you could play in your backyard. You didn't need ice. You didn't need anything. You just needed a net and a couple balls, and so it was definitely a passion of mine right from the beginning.
Did you know anything about it before your parents put you into it?
Nothing. I knew nothing about it other than my older brother played it, and we'd put my younger brother in net and practice our stick skills. So, other than that, I knew nothing really about it.
We're going to turn up the heat now. I'm going to hand the microphone over to Gary.
I want to talk a bit about your time in junior because that's probably where you really gain momentum between playing with Burlington and St. Catharines. Let's talk about the programs because they're still very viable programs to this day, turning out a lot of NLL players.
Yeah, well, I got drafted. I can't remember the year, but I think I was drafted like second overall in the junior A draft. And just hold on one second, Izzy. Sorry, my daughter's linking into my headphones here, so I can't hear.
I thought you were going to tell her to
Um,
feed the dog.
yeah, now I can't hear you guys. Hold on. Sorry. Can
Carry
you hear?
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. Carry on.
Yeah.
Okay. So I went. It was actually the Bay Area Bengals, which was Hamilton. So I got drafted there, and then the year that I was coming in, they actually moved to Burlington, and I played with the Burlington Chiefs for a few years. Was fortunate enough to win Rookie of the Year in the Junior A, the Joe Noondike Trophy. And my coaches were actually Dave Suckamore and Brian Lemon, two guys who are still really involved in the game. Dave was longtime vice president of the PLPA, and Brian Lemon is one of the main guys for the NLL and has been for the last 15 years. So, I had some good coaches in junior that set me up, and then got traded to St. Catharines simply for a geographical standpoint. I was really young when I was playing junior. I was 16, and it was a lot of travel back and forth down the QEW, to games. So, I relied a lot on my parents. And then once I got my license and I was able to drive on the highways, my parents were like, we'd like you to play closer to home. And so Burlington ended up trading me to St. Catharines. And again, we had lots of success in both franchises, but, was never able to raise the Minto Cup. Got close, but always got beat out by Orangeville. They were a powerhouse back in the day.
We've heard a lot about Orangeville.
A lot.
Yeah, they're quite the junior powerhouse. They just run such a great program up there. They're always turn out great NLL players, and their junior teams are always dynamite.
Now you before you hit into the NLL, you got into the MSL, and you were the Buffalo Gamblers.
Yeah.
There's a team you haven't heard in too many trivia questions.
Yeah, well, it was actually the Niagara Falls Gamblers first. So
Right.
we actually played out of Niagara Falls the first year. And again, it was kind of a mishmash of guys. I mean, we had some tremendous players like Darius Rich and Travis Kilgore. Steve Toll played on that team. We had Bob Watson, who was a backup in Brampton for a lot of years, but this was his first kind of starting opportunity. And then a lot of good young junior players. And, we ended up beating Brampton, I think, in 7 games to go on to the to the Mann Cup. and we ended up losing, I think, in 5 or 6 games to the Victoria Shamrocks.
Right.
The next year we moved to Buffalo, and then again we had all-star team. We had Gary Gade, and we had everybody under the sun. And unfortunately, that was the year Bob Watson got hurt. During our playoff run, he took a ball through the mask and fractured his orbital, and our backup goalie just wasn't up to the task of the guys that we were playing. So I think we ended up losing to Brooklyn in 6, and then Brooklyn ended up winning the Mann Cup that year.
Right, and you wound up going over to Brampton, and you wound up winning a Mann Cup there. Let's talk about that team, because that's the heyday of the Excelsiors, really.
Yeah, that was really the Excelsiors were a dynamite team back then, and obviously being very well coached, and again we had a lot of real solid NLL guys. Dan Teat, Mike Hazen, Paddy O'Toole was our goalie. It went on and on, the guys that we had in that locker room, and we were fortunate to win, and I was fortunate to be part of that team. But it was again another all-star team that really just had what it took to beat the Western team, which was, I think, a Victoria Shamrocks at that time, and John Tavares was playing for them actually in that summer.
Right. And you wound up in Peterborough, and you wound up winning another Mann Cup a couple of years after that. Let's talk about that, because we had a lot of guys from Peterborough up there talking about the program. What did you find that was so special about the Peterborough program? Why they continually are where they are?
Well, I think the team that I was on, which was, I think, 2004, and got traded there kind of at the deadline. I was playing in the MLL for the Rochester Rattlers that summer. So I wasn't really planning on playing box lacrosse. And so I ended up deciding, okay, I'm going to play box lacrosse. Brampton had traded my rights to Windsor, I think, at that point. They were kind of in for 1 year. They picked up my rights, and then they traded me to Peterborough. And when I went to that team, you had John Grant Jr., you had the Evans brothers, again, Paddy O'Toole, I was the goalie that year. But they weren't really expected to win. The team that was expected to win was Brampton again. And they had Josh Sanderson, they had the Merrill brothers, they were loaded top to bottom. And Peterborough Lakers hadn't won in 25 years. So in 2004, that was the first time they had won in over 25 years. And they hadn't been to the finals, I think, in 15 or so years. So that was a really special team to be a part of. I think that really spurred the community to really, come in and watch the program. And that was when I first got traded there, they were, drawing a few hundred people. And when we won the Mann Cup, they were selling that arena out every single night, people waiting down the street for tickets. And ever since then, they've really put the money that they made in that, Mann Cup back into the program, continuing to bring new players in. And again, Peterborough is such a great lacrosse city that, they have a great minor program, good junior program. And they put a lot of good players through that program. So I think now they have about 16 or 17 players from that community playing on that team. And there's not too many MSL teams that can say that. They really are doing a really good job up there and continue to build that program.
Another community we've heard a lot about.
The thing also is they have a lot of the people who have played as part of their program too. They're all around the area. They're at the games. They're coaching. They're there as part of it too. Is more incentive to give back, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. All the guys that have retired have, given back to either the minor program, the junior program, or even the senior program, and are, a part of the success that continues to happen as the Peterborough Lakers.
Right. It's a lifestyle. There's
it really is. It really
is. Some towns, it's just part of the fabric of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And in Ontario, there's some of these small towns like Orangeville and Peterborough. Like that's where you go in the summer. You go Friday nights, you go to the Junior A game in Orangeville. Thursday nights you go to the major series in Peterborough. Like that's just the way it is, and it's nice to see that. It's great to play for those teams. It's great to go there and be an opponent there. They get such great fan base, and it's always exciting games.
Heck, I still do that. Yeah, I do a lot of traveling in Ontario in the summer. That's for sure. Now, I want to talk about the NLL and your playing career. You had a 17-year playing career in which you were part of 5 different championships.
Yeah.
But we start out with the Ontario Raiders, and there's another one that 1 year and off it came to Toronto. But let's talk about it in Cops Coliseum at that time, and the team. And first of all, was it what you expected coming up to the NLL, going into training camp, and was that what you expected?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, it's funny. I was at the Hall of Fame dinner and, I was talking to Sean Williams and Colin Doyle, guys that I started my career with. When the Ontario Raiders started, both Sean Williams and I tried out for the Buffalo Bandits the year before. And we both got cut. Colin Doyle tried out in Rochester the year before and he got cut. And so when the Ontario Raiders came and Les Bartley and Johnny Meridian were a part of bringing that franchise into Hamilton, I had some experience playing senior because I played for the Niagara Falls Gamblers that summer. And they actually protected us. So we didn't even go into the draft. They protected 5 local, within, I forget what the radius they were given. But it was funny. It was Bob Watson. It was Colin Doyle. It was myself. It was Ken Millen, Sean Williams, and I can't remember the 5th player that was there. I think it might have been Dean Ciccone. I can't quite recall. So it was exciting to be a part of that, like the grassroots of it. The first night, obviously, we had a really great crowd in Hamilton. It was super exciting. To kind of live out your childhood dream. I was, as a kid, my dad would take our family to Buffalo Bandits games and we would go watch them and watch some of their championships. And, as a young player, you always, aspire to that next level. And the NLL was that next level. And so it was fantastic to put on a professional jersey, run out, have your friends and family there cheering you on and, getting to live a childhood dream. And so it was exciting there. The fan base, I don't think was right at that time in Hamilton.
Right.
And then they obviously moved on to Toronto and, Toronto Rock were created, out of Madison Square Gardens. And that year during training camp, I was in contract negotiations and they ended up trading me to Syracuse. So I went down to Syracuse and played for a year and then ultimately ended up in Buffalo where I played a good chunk of my career.
Yeah, and in Buffalo, of course, memorable years in there. As that team was starting to gain its momentum, you make it to the finals against Calgary in 2004. You do make it back in there for the 2008 championship. You're in Rochester for the 2007 championship. I believe you went from Edmonton over there, and the final piece. Those are some of the greatest teams that I think I've ever seen. Is the 2007 Nighthawks and the 2008 Bandits.
Yeah, it was 2005. Again, I got traded to Minnesota. Actually, I was at Minnesota. I think Marty O'Neill was the GM there, and I just had a kid. My son Carter, he was born, and I just said, Marty, it's not going to work for me traveling out there all the time. If you can, trade me back. So he ended up trading me to Rochester. So I was in Rochester 2005, 2006, and 2007. 2007 Rochester team, I would say, is probably the best team I've ever played on.
Right.
I think top to bottom, we had lots of experience. We had a lot of youth and athleticism. But we had composure, and we had guys like John Grant Jr. and Sean Williams and guys that could score goals, but we had, steady defense and Reggie Thorpe and, Marsh Abrams. We had, one of the best goalies at that time was Patty O'Toole. But it was always that case where we started off really slow, and I think we were 2-2, something like that. And then we went off and we won 17 games in a row. And I think we got to that point where we're like, we got something special here. Like, let's just everybody, like, let's not panic. Let's just, stick to it. Let's have confidence in ourselves. And didn't matter what the score was going into the fourth quarter. We all were very confident we were going to win that game. And we went on that run that I think 17 games is a tough run to do in the NLL now and not lose a game. So, it was one of the greatest teams I played on. And then free agency came. It was my first opportunity to be free agent. Edmonton gave me a deal I couldn't really kind of refuse. And went out to Edmonton halfway through. Paul Day got fired. And and then they ended up trading me back to the East. So Darius Kilgore called me. It was on my way home from work, and he said, "Hey, what are you doing tonight?" And I said, "Well, nothing." Like I didn't. He didn't say I got traded there or anything. And he goes, "Well, we just traded for you, so we got practice tonight. So can you be there by 7?" I said, "Yeah, I'll be there." And then Buffalo went on that run, and we ended up winning a championship again. Great banded team. It was kind of the heyday of the smash and bang bandits. We were a real tough team to play against. Guys like Reggie Thorpe and Kyle Cooling, just some absolute weapons in the back end. And then it's him. JT was just in his heyday back then, and again had a lot of success with them in 2008 and won another championship. So.
It's funny. I just put up a retro game on our YouTube channel. It was the 2002 Bandits against the Columbus Land Sharks, of all things.
Oh, that's funny.
We got a few goals from you on there too, so it'll be up.
I think that was actually the game that I got engaged at. I asked my wife to marry me at halftime, and I think that might have been the game in Buffalo. If it was in Buffalo, that was the game.
It was.
That was the game.
Yeah, that's great. But it's funny because I inherited Bill Fox's collection of all of his VHS tapes over COVID, and slowly but surely I've been getting around to putting all these games up and putting them on our YouTube channel all across all the time. So yeah, there's a number of Bandit games and Rochester games, and so yeah. So if you're interested, in
that's pretty funny. I'm gonna have to check that out, see if it's on film.
Were any of your kids born during?
I got engaged in the one game I just was putting up. I can hear issues, so I'm just getting rid of a couple of songs out of there, and then that one will be up. But
had a little bit of a problem, but I could hear what you guys were talking about. I'm just wondering if were there any games that children were born while you're playing? That could be how you gauge all your games, right?
History. So the years that my kids were born, 2004. My son was born in June 25th, and I won the Mann Cup in 2004. My daughters were born in 2007. I have twin girls, and that same year I won the NLL championship. So
you think you should have had more kids?
I probably should have had more kids. Maybe I would have more than 5 rings.
God,
Mama would have been happy.
You would have. Yeah. You've been busy during the 2012 through 14, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been able to do it as long as I did. She was fantastic.
Well, congratulations on every count, all 4.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's talk about that Rochester three-peat, something that's never been done and hasn't been done since, and probably won't be done for quite a while, as far as I can see it, just with parity in the league.
Yeah,
that was something, because that first year, it didn't look like much. It was an 8-8 team, I believe, and they got hot. You guys got hot at the right time, and ramped it through the playoffs. I remember the game in Toronto because I believe Kurt Stiers brought I think 5 or 6 busloads, about 300 people in there.
That's right.
It started sounding a little bit like Blue Cross Arena in there. It was nuts.
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, I mean, I think with all those teams, really, I think the 2000 and probably 13 team was the best team, but our record never really indicated that. But again, it was, we got hot at the right time. We had, again, guys that were still, playing outstanding, and then, getting great goaltending from Matt Vince. But, I think a lot of people thought Kurt was crazy. We traded away John Grant Jr., traded away Sean Williams, and, everybody's like, what are you doing? You're destroying it. But, with the guys that we brought in and the draft picks that we got, we ended up getting Cody Jamieson. We ended up getting Sid Smith. We got Matt Vince from Colorado in the John Grant trade. So all of those kind of pieces were put together. And again, you got a goaltender like Matt Vince that gets hot at the right time. And, we still had solid defense. We had, great group of guys up front. We had a young Cody Jamieson that, took it on his back in that final game, and in 2012 kind of pushed us over the edge. When we were in those finals, I think we were down 6-2 at halftime. Like, it was a real low scoring game. And I remember we had a power play, and I think I scored coming out of halftime. We scored, and then, or it wasn't a power play. I think it was a 5-on-5. I scored, and then Cody came down, scored another one quick. and then we kind of built that momentum up. And again, that was the beginning of the Edmonton Rush, Saskatchewan Rush, real dynasty teams.
Right.
And, we were fortunate that, we had some great goaltending in the second half. We kind of put that first half behind us, and everybody got to work and won our first of 3 championships.
Right.
I don't think it was any special thing that Matt Vince did. I think he just was himself. You got to worry if he just plays his regular game.
Yeah,
he's a little bit off. That's all you got to hope for.
I think he's a type of goalie that I think when he makes, there's certain saves that he makes when you're sitting on the bench and you're like, we're winning this game. You know what I mean? They just like saves that maybe, he's a great goalie, the best that has ever played. There's no doubt. But, there's times in games when he'll make that save that he maybe shouldn't have, or that was, and he's feeling it then. And then you're like, he's not letting another goal. We got to get 2 more goals. We'll be in this game. And that was kind of the way that game went.
Yeah, awesome goaltender, and I'm sure you feel you were lucky to play with him.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I mean, he's one of my best friends, and we were roommates for all of those championships, and so he's our families travel together in the summertime. Our kids are close, so we spend a lot of time together. He's a great human being, a great dad, and again, he's the best goalie that's ever played this game. There's no doubt.
Drill down a little bit on that. For us, and after each and every interview, and whenever we talk to players, coaches, anybody involved in lacrosse, there's this. I want to call it this human side to lacrosse players. They never leave that idea of community. Is it because they play all the time and they play with all kinds of players, because that's the idiosyncrasy of lacrosse, where a season, it just rolls into another season, which rolls into another season?
Mm-hmm. I think that's part of it. I think it's definitely part of it. I mean, you play on different teams in the summertime and then in the wintertime. And so you're, playing with 25 guys in the summer. You might only play with 4 or 5 of those guys on your regular team. They go off to those teams. So there is that tighter knit community naturally. Just because, there's not as many guys playing at the professional level, but you get to know all of these guys. And I think the one thing that you notice about all lacrosse players in general is they're humble guys, and they're regular guys. We don't make a ton of money. We're not all retiring on our bank accounts that we got. If I'm played 17 years in the NHL, I wouldn't be being a teacher in the regular day. I'd be retired and out hunting right now. I wouldn't be, wouldn't be coming home from work and doing all this stuff. So it's, I think it's just the humble nature of lacrosse players, just down to earth guys that love the game and, respect one another, respect the sport. And that, I think that's a huge part of the lacrosse community. I think it's what makes it special.
So the reason why I don't think lacrosse players outgrow their original communities, why they find it so easy to go back to their roots.
Why is it easy to go back to their roots?
No, that's one of the reasons why it's easy to 100%. Go back to your roots, right? Because it's a game, but like we said before, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to bring up the 2014 championship, the last one of the 3. It's an interesting one because originally you were supposed to be part of lacrosse operations, weren't you? And you came back in because of injuries, right?
Yeah, so I came back that year because they had a whole whack of injuries, and I was actually, kind of just scouting and doing game day stuff for them. And I remember I was in Buffalo. A couple guys got hurt the game before, and then, 2 guys got hurt in the Buffalo game. And I remember I was talking to Matt after the game, and we were sitting there, and then we were driving home together, and got a phone call from Kurt, and he said, "Hey, how's it going?" I said, "Good." And he said, "You're still working out and still in shape?" I said, "Yeah, I work out every day." And he's like, "Okay, we need to re-sign you and bring you back. And we got lots of injuries, so we need a righty, and we know what you can do." So I came back, and that was it. So
there's always something to it. But that's also the year with that mini game.
Yeah, it was so stupid.
That was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever seen. I was at the games, and of course, Calgary wins the first one. We go to Rochester, and then Kurt puts some strategy in. You guys start winning game 2, and he starts sitting everybody.
Yeah.
So that they be for this 10-minute mini game.
Yeah.
And well, two goals quickly, and then Matt Vince takes over.
That's right.
As you're able to pull it out 3-2 or something.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Just the idea of you finish a game, now you're going to go and rest for 5 minutes, and now you're going to go play again. It doesn't make much sense.
For the championship, right? So ultimately, the championship came down to a 10-minute mini game, which is absolutely insane for the amount of work that you put into that season. The big game in Calgary was sold out. It was a huge. Rochester had a big crowd, and we're going to end our championship based on the 10 minutes of play. It's crazy. Like anything can happen in that 10 minutes. That's a game of lacrosse, right? It makes it exciting. But on the same token, you have your whole season come down to those final 10 minutes and you win a game 3-2. It just didn't make sense. I'm so glad they got rid of it, just because it doesn't do the sport and the league any justice doing it that way. I think doing it the 2 out of 3, obviously it extends the season and pushes it into late May, beginning of June. But I think the product that the league has now is something that should continue to get showcased. Absolutely.
Look at the last couple of years at these games. They're just phenomenal. Going to the third game, even the games that only been 2, they've just been, just an opportunity to showcase the product in full game, because anything can happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then getting the streaming services with, TSN, picking up games of the week, and ESPN, putting on their streaming platform. Again, it reaches out to such a broader audience, and, people that maybe would have never really click on it, all of a sudden they're watching the game, they become a fan. And now we're reaching out to more and more people and continuing to build the fantastic game of lacrosse and the National Lacrosse League. So it needs to be showcased. I wish it was on TV more. I'd love to see these guys eventually, make a living doing this. The effort that they put in and the blood, sweat, and tears that they put into this, the monetary value is minimal compared to what they put into it, and the time that they spend away from their families and doing all their regular stuff during the week, and then traveling and doing this chaos. It's again, I wish I would have seen it already, where guys are making a living doing this.
Mm-hmm. One of the proudest moments I had, it was in December. I walked into a pub, and there was a Halifax game on every single TV in the pub.
Yeah,
like, this is awesome. This is because I've been on a soapbox for years about this.
Yeah.
It's one thing to have it on social media like NLL TV and stuff. You're preaching to the choir. Guys like us, we're gonna watch it no matter what. I'll watch it on a washing machine if I have to. Yeah. But to get it to the new people, to get new eyes on it, it has to be on cable TV. Where they flip.
And even like in Halifax, we've done really well from a fan base perspective. The Nest, we're getting great crowds. They're so into the game. But even going there and talking to people in restaurants, they come up to you and they're like, we saw you on TV, so we decided to come to a game. And they came to the game and we're like, this is amazing. And so now they come to the season ticket holders, but they saw it on TSN, as a game of the week, and they just flipped it on. They're like, oh, we'll watch Halifax play. And they saw the excitement. They saw all the stuff going on. They're like, we should really go to a game in person. Now they're season ticket holders, and that's how you build a fan base. And again, there's lots of exciting things happening in the National Lacrosse League, and I think hopefully one day we're going to make strides in the professional sports world.
I don't think we should underestimate the affordability of going to a game as well.
Yeah, I think that's a big key, right? You go to a hockey game in Toronto. Good luck. You're dropping $1,000 before you even think about it, right? You're $250 a ticket. You're $25 a beer. You got $40 in parking. You're not going out of there without spending $1,000, right? You go to, Hamilton Cops Coliseum. You pay $5 for parking. You pay $25 or $30 for a ticket. Well, now it's a lot more of an affordable evening for a family of 4 than going to a national hockey game, right?
And you go to the local bar that the team hangs out at and have dinner and a couple of drinks with them.
Absolutely. And again, I think that's that grassroots kind of approach that lacrosse has taken, that personal touch where you can actually go and meet them and chat with them and talk to them and, get to know them. I mean, some of these fans we've known for years. That's what makes the sport special.
A great personal touch.
Mm-hmm.
Now you move forward, and you're part of lacrosse operations for a couple of years. You get behind the bench. You're an assistant coach in Rochester for a couple of years. Then the move happens. Let's talk about the move, because that was one that took all of us off guard, really. And it put you from the home dressing room to the visitors' dressing room with the same team the next year, which was a lot in its own right.
Yeah. So we kind of knew the year before, that last year that we were in, I think we lost the championship in Sask, I think. I had known that summer that we were going to move to Halifax. And so they kind of were going to try and keep it secret. And then they finally, I think, came out in February and said that they're going to move the team to Halifax. And I think Rochester was just kind of understanding from Kurt's perspective, it just wasn't a great business place, to do business. They were moving the rent up, the fan base had kind of dropped off. Even when we had really good teams, it was really hard to get, 5,000 people in that arena. And, you can only lose money so long before you're like, I need to do something else. So I knew he was looking to move markets. He didn't want to sell it. He wanted to keep the ownership of the team and move it somewhere. And then during that Rochester year, when I was coaching that final year in Rochester, they made the announcement that it was out in Halifax. Kurt had invited me to come out. I invited all the coaches at that time to come out. I was the only one that was able to go, so I ended up going out there and saw the excitement that the community was and saw what a fantastic city it was. And then in the off season, again, my understanding was I was still an assistant coach and hadn't really been presented the head coaching job. Mike Hazen, again, made the decision that he didn't want to do the flights and go back and forth to Halifax, and was going to stay in Rochester. And they gave him that opportunity to take that head coaching job, so he decided to stay. And Patty O'Toole, who's best friend, I think brother-in-law, decided that he was going to stay there as well. And then Kurt called me up right away and said, "Hey, are you ready to take a head coaching position?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely, I'll do it." And that's where it went. And then it was an exciting year, the first year in Halifax, that's for sure.
Let's talk about the benefit of, sorry, Gary, because this is important. This is something that we always, as the NLL is the one that started this kind of trend of putting teams in that are good into new franchise location, right? How important is that? You were in the front seat for how that worked and how that might have helped to give that team in Nova Scotia a lift, and the fans, like it did in Saskatchewan, like it did in Georgia, all those moves. The NLL has really tried to ensure that every organization has a chance. Every new organization has a chance to take off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's when you put a new team in and you're starting from the ground up, like Panther City has done. They've done really well, from a team perspective. Vegas had a good start to a franchise. But when you put an established team in a market, right away you've got veteran players. You've got a quality team that's going to put a quality product on the floor right away. You're not going to have those growing pains that you normally would do with an expansion team or a new team. And so when we went there, we were a solid team from Rochester, and right away, we picked up Clark Peterson in that draft. So we added some, again, youth, Trevor Smith, but we're 6-0, and we had, I think, 3 of our first 6 games were at home. And, you want to bring that excitement into the market, but when you bring a winning franchise into the market right away, it makes that much more exciting, right? This is a winning team. Let's go watch them. Everybody wants to watch a winner. So when you go in and right away they're going in and they're watching it, they're seeing the product we're winning exciting games, we're winning close games. I think that really drove, the fan base to say, yeah, let's get behind this. And, since that point, we've had lots of success at home. I think we have one of the better home records in the league. And I think a lot of that is due to the environment that's been created by, Kurt and the staff that work in Halifax, but also the fan base that have continued to support us since day one.
But you, when you first got there, you guys did the right thing, and grassroots, you got out with the community. You guys formed programs for kids, and you got everybody invested in your product.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the smartest things I think we did that year is we did a purple orange game. So we kept everybody that we brought into camp late. We were mid to late November, and we flew. Kurt flew 40 guys out to Halifax, and we played a free game for the fans that they could come in, they could check it out, they could see what the lacrosse game. Lacrosse has Nova Scotia has a smaller lacrosse community. It's continues to grow, but anybody that wanted to come, you have to register, and you got free tickets. So we ended up with 7,500 people there that first, for an exhibition inter squad game. I don't think you could ask for anything better than that as far as start. And again, we had a great group of guys in camp. They put on a great game. I think it was a few goal game. So there was lots of excitement that was already brought into that game. And then people were like, this is cool. I want to go that way. They have the cheerleaders and music playing. They got all kinds of different things going on, like most NLL teams. And they realized that this was just more than just a game. It was a production. It was a show. It was entertainment value that was there. At an affordable price, and people were like, "Yeah, let's do this." And then our first regular season game, I think we had close to 7,000 people there, and we've continued to build since then.
Another piece is the arena, looking for another somebody for their venue.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they have the Moose, the Halifax Mooseheads there, and they do really well. They're a great team. I think they were Calder Cup finalists last year. But it was, again, looking for something else to put people in the building, and Scotiabank Center and have been nothing but great to us, and have treated us fantastic, given us an opportunity to kind of really make a home there in Halifax and in that arena. And it's such a perfect arena for the National Lacrosse League. I think it's probably 11,000, 11,500. I think that's a great size. I mean, we're not all Buffalo, but for that community size, it's a perfect arena, to have that intimate setting, and to have it really loud and exciting for the fans and for the players.
Right. COVID hits, it shuts everybody down for a couple of years. You guys come back and you're based there, still raring to go. That says something about what you guys have done and laid the seeds for something really special for a number of years, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, when we came back after the 2020 season, 21 was nobody. 22, we came back, and then Nova Scotia, because it's a, smaller community, they had the tightest restrictions in Canada. We ended up not even getting into our home arena until March. We played out of Copps Coliseum. Yeah. So we didn't really have a home. We were just still there. And then the first game back, we sold as many seats as they would allow, which I think was like 1,500. Next week, it was like 3,500. And then by the end of the year, when the restrictions are raised, we have 10,000 people. And I think that goes to the base that we've created and the excitement we've created in that community. And there's just so many loyal, great fans that just love the sport, and they're continuing to bring new people, to games and have that excitement. So, we're continuing to see our season ticket base continue to rise every year, and that's exciting to be a part of it.
I've had a couple of your players on over the last little while. I've had Austin Shanks, Tyson Bell, these guys, and they keep coming back to the thing that this year it's championship or bust. All the pieces look to be in place. You look to have a great team. The guys are seated. Is this the one, you think?
I think so. I mean, I would agree with that. I think we're kind of in that level of age when you get to a team and experience where now either you're gonna win a championship, or you're gonna start to look like, okay, there's no point in finishing 5th or 6th, and or 4th. That doesn't why are we spinning our wheels? We might as well try and rebuild and retool and put a product in the floor in 4 years that's going to win a championship. So I would agree with that. I think this is the year that we're going to make a good push. I think we have all the pieces that we need in place to really be a championship team. I mean, offensively, we were the second highest team besides. I mean, everybody talked about San Diego's offense last year, but they only scored 5 more goals than us throughout the year. And we played in the East, which is, we all know was a meat grinder for years, playing against the Buffaloes and the Torontos, the Rochesters, the Phillies. Like it's a grind. It was a grind in the East the last few years. And, we lost 5 games by 1 goal. And so those are hard pills to swallow. 3 in overtime, 2 of those overtime games to Buffalo, 1 to Colorado or Calgary, which we lost late in the game. We lost another one, I think, in overtime to Albany. So, you start to look back and you're like, what could have been? That season's done. We're moving forward. But we know that we have the group that I think has depth at every position. I think we have a fantastic goaltender. We have, some of the best players in Cody Jamieson and Randy Stats up front. We got guys like Austin Shanks that had a down year last year that, is reinvigorated after having a great summer and is ready to go. I think we're ready. And I think that this is a team that's really committed to winning a championship. And I'm excited to see where we go.
Yeah, healthy Withers and face-off too is always a good thing too.
Absolutely, he's a difference maker, that's for sure.
The changing of divisions, having no divisions, and now everybody travels. I think it plays more into favor for you guys because you guys had to travel everywhere anyways, being on the East Coast. Now it kind of levels the playing field because before Toronto can drive to Buffalo, Buffalo can drive to Rochester, Rochester can drive to Albany, Albany can drive to Toronto, and nobody really had to really get taxed with a lot of travel. Now everybody has to see everybody twice during the year.
Yeah.
How does this, or once at least, how does this play into the team, and does it play at all a factor?
I don't think we really think about it too much. I mean, we know we travel, 9 times out to the East Coast, so travel has never been an issue for us. Our team is mostly Eastern based. We have a few guys that live out east, but most of the guys are, live in Ontario. We practice midweek. The travel is not going to be nothing. It's going to be nothing new for us. I think you're going to see teams like Buffalo, Rochester, Toronto that have really had that inner loop, that haven't had to travel at all or very little every year. Now we're going to be going through the grind of, going to the airport 2 hours early, waiting, flights delayed. You don't get bags. You only get bags in the morning. Like all of these other things they're gonna have to experience. Well, that's regular week for us, and so there's nothing new that I don't think is going to be presented to us that we haven't really had or experienced over the last few years. So it's definitely an advantage to the teams that have been, traveling a lot over the last few years. I think the grind of traveling is something that you cannot prepare for.
It's pretty unselfish to be able to convince opponents to travel more. And it's pretty interesting to take teams out of towns that are successful and move them somewhere. There's a real unselfishness within the National Lacrosse League and inherently in lacrosse and the people who run it.
Yeah, and I think that's we all want to see success. We want to see the team be successful. We want to see the league be successful. And again, it's a great community to be a part of, whether you're a fan, whether you're a coach, or whether you're a player. Lacrosse people are just are great people to be around.
Now, just before we end, we got a couple of minutes left. I just want to get your opinion on lacrosse goes back to the Olympics in 2028 in sixes form. What's your opinion of it? Of sixes, anyways.
I like that. I think it's exciting. I think it takes a few elements of the game that I think are important out of it. But I think as far as creating, I would call it almost a new sport or a different level of the sport. It's exciting. Yeah, I think it's exciting, right? Because Americans are really good. Have good long poles, great attackmen. Great face-off guys. I think it levels the playing field for a lot of these communities that just have really good athletes that maybe aren't as specialized as some of the North American teams are, right? The Haudenosaunee, the Canadians, and the Americans. So you're going to see some teams like Japan, I think, are going to surprise a lot of people just because they're fantastic. They did really well at the World Championship. They have tremendous athletes, lots of speed. That game is all about speed. And so I think it's going to be really, really interesting how it all kind of plays out. I'm excited to see, where that sport takes us at sixes, and being introduced into the Olympics. Everybody would be die to be on that team, in an Olympic level team, because in our generation we never really got that opportunity. So I'm excited for it. I think it's an exciting time for lacrosse. To be put into the international spotlight is amazing.
It eliminates the depth advantage as well, which is an equalizer to your point.
Yeah, 100%. I think it equals the playing field significantly for a lot of these teams that maybe aren't playing at the highest level like Canadian and North Americans do year round. They're based in a field lacrosse, but they have tremendous athletes, but they can't use those specialized positions as well as we can. So we're going to see some teams, I think, surprise a lot of these North American teams just with their speed and athleticism. Australia is always a great team. Japan, it was fantastic at the World Championships. I think you're going to see some tremendous lacrosse, and I think it's really, really exciting time for lacrosse.
Having a couple of hundred countries looking at the game too that have never seen it before can't hurt. Absolutely. Either, right?
Can't hurt at all.
Listen, I just want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, especially with training camps going on, teaching and everything else, to talk with us for an hour. Appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. And anytime I get to talk to lacrosse guys, I always jump at that opportunity. So thanks for having me.
Totally our pleasure, and I want to thank you as well. So this ends another program for Gary Groob and Nick Accursi. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching NLL Lacrosse Talk, seen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Lacrosse Talk, news, entertainment, and other sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget Candid Frank Stanisci on YouTube. Until next time, pick up a stick.